absolutely
Oh, you're saying
destroyed.
replace it for you for knees. Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
fair.
yeah, yeah.
That's fair.
For me,
I would
it's the knees. Those
I
got to
would
go.
I would need one. I need my right one. But I
But
just really want
both.
my lower back to be cybernetic and not deal with any pain.
Yeah.
Or at least
Okay.
constantly put drugs into it.
Boys, are you guys also really disappointed that film and television has promised us that by now there'd be all kinds of robots and shit, and so far we're not even close?
I mean, we
I
have
watched
sex
it.
box.
I watched the Boston Dynamics videos, and as much as part of me goes, "Holy shit, those robots are dope," I'm still like, these robots are about 100 years earlier than than the technology of robots that I was promised by film and television by this point.
I mean, that's true. You're talking about places that we're talking about full replicants and everything like that, right? Like what year
I
did
mean,
Blade Runner
I,
take
I
place?
honestly no. I mean, even think to like Back to the Future too. Motherfuckers had hoverboards and like dope ass 3D theaters with shitty looking sharks popping out of the roof. We don't got none of that shit. None of it.
I mean, I was promised Judgment Day in 1998. That didn't happen.
I'm saying, where's Klops's horrible robot apocalypse that he was
Yeah,
promised by James Cameron?
yeah,
James
I
Cameron.
mean, there's always time for a robot apocalypse. It doesn't have to
yeah.
happen now, but might happen soon.
I mean, given how this year's going, it's going to be the fucking murder wasps and the robots teaming up together.
Jesus, yeah,
We're gonna build the
exactly.
robots to take out the murder wasps, and then the robots are gonna turn.
I think I've said it before on this, but boy, am I really just not comfortable with how close the murder wasps are. You know what I mean? Like, normally when there's like a big, real fuck off disaster, it's on the East Coast, and we have the luxury of going, like, oh, at least it's on the fucking East Coast. But this one's just like,
So walk me through. I've obviously heard of the murder wasps, but I don't know what sparked it or what the incident was.
so Washington has its first reported hives of murder wasps, which are both a really aggressive, invasive species that is known for wiping out honeybees and other indigenous creatures. It's really bad. But is also known to have one of the most painful stings in the world, enough that stings from 5 or 6 is probably enough to kill you.
Wow.
Oh, 5 or 6, huh? Man, that's a lot.
When it comes to swarms of bees, like it's kind of not, especially since these are not like normal bees where one sting and it dies. These can sting multiple times. So I actually watched a video. A grown man takes a murder wasp. So he this is his shtick. You can find him
Oh,
on
I
YouTube. Forgive me
remember
for not
him.
knowing. I think his name is Coyote. I I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong. All I know is if you go on YouTube and you look up murder wasp sting, this guy will be one of the top ones that pops up. I apologize for not knowing his name, but there's a dude who goes out and he kind of like rates how bad stings and bites from different bugs are. Um, so he did the murder wasp and he said it's top two. Like top two most painful. I mean, literally, this thing hits him and you see it. It's kind of a slow, like stabbing. And then it's
Wow.
back out and he puts it back in a jar. And I mean, this is a grown man who drops to the floor and starts punching soil because
Yeah.
it hurts so bad. Is screaming, is crying, is like destroyed from a
The YouTube
singular
channel is called Brave Wilderness.
that's the one. That's the one. Brave Wilderness. Uh yeah, brutal, really, really brutal. Like
Well,
up there. Do you remember like
the
it was popular a few months ago or whatever? But bullet
the ant,
ants.
right? The ant that went,
Yes,
yeah. Where
this
it,
was easily worse than the bullet ant.
oh wow, and that one's supposed to feel like you got shot.
Yes, this is burning, searing pain because remember it's venomous as well.
Yeah.
Bees even are venomous, so when it stings you,
Well, I thought it was
you
yeah,
get
it's
a
like a
stab plus
neurotoxin,
venom.
right?
So with these things, it literally his arm swelled so bad within an hour they had to take his watch off, or it was going to cut off circulation to his hand.
Oh
His hand
wow.
was about double the size of his other hand within an hour, and he said the burning didn't stop that entire time it was swelling.
Wow.
So these things have made it from Asia over to Washington. They're just in Washington.
How?
They travel. They get in a suitcase, somebody brings them. Like there are ways. This shit fucking some asshole collector is like, I need a murder wasp. Fucking people have tigers, bro. Like nothing is surprising anymore.
Yeah, but
So-
that's real close.
Some asshole, let's put it that, you know how it got here is assholes. So some asshole brought a fucking murder wasp, and it was enough to let them set up a colony. And if there's one, there's more than one. So now there's like an actual task force in Washington doing what they can to kill all of the murder wasps in the US before they can actually take root here and start murdering honeybees, killing people, and really just becoming a problem.
Yeah, because wow,
Yeah.
that is not a good way to go.
No.
I wonder where they come from, like exactly from Asia.
From what I've seen a lot of people online who are just defaulting like fucking Japan, fucking China. From kind of what I'm reading, it's just sort of like Asia in general. That's at least how like the generic stuff makes it sound. Is it's just from Asia.
Yeah. So I've gotten bit by fire ants, and I hated that. I can only imagine what this is going to be like. There's a bee that's native to, well, I don't know if it's native only there, but they definitely have a lot of them. Down where my father's from, middle of nowhere mountains of Mexico.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Like Eduardo's told me about this before. It's not like his dad's not fucking Guadalajara. His dad's not
No,
Mexico.
no.
His dad's like deep Mexico.
Yeah, like mountains and whatnot. Like when I went there, they didn't have electricity.
The places you've gone in Mexico, it's pretty easy to find a guy who can speak English. The places his dad is from in Mexico, no.
Yeah,
No.
that definitely that. But anyways, they have these things called trabadoras, which translates to basically they jam things. They're jammers, right? But because if you get stung by one,
I
your
feel like
throat-
I'm horrified and Klops is excited right
your
now.
throat swells up and you pretty much
Ooh.
suffocate if they don't get to you fast enough.
What
I have
kind
a
of
morbid curiosity. What can I say?
what kind of bug is it? Is it,
It
an
is-
ant?
it
Is
is
it a
a-
beetle?
It is a type of wasp, I believe.
Oh, so it's a flying little motherfucker.
Yeah,
Ooh.
exactly. And it's
So-
about yay big,
Okay, so he's holding up that looks like what, inch and a half?
about inch and a half. Big
Ooh.
wings. I got real lucky when I was over there because I got one caught in my shirt, but it hadn't stung me yet before they got it
Where
out.
was that from?
Mexico?
Oh, so the murder wasps are actually the Asian giant hornet.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Oh, it's a hornet, so it
Vespa-
bites, right?
Yeah, Vespa.
No, it stings.
Vespa Madeira, including the references the Japanese giant hornet. It is the world's largest hornet. Is native temperatures the tropical East Asia, South Asia, mainland Southeast Asia, and parts of Russia, Far East. So it's basically the main continent of China and like the little islands down below in Japan.
Right, okay.
That's where it's originally from. But yeah, it's just kind of like all of Asia has them.
You know what we got to do though?
All of Asia.
Bro, here's how you you won't wipe them out doing this, but here's how you get that shit under control. Find some motherfucker who can cook them up real good. The minute that shit becomes a delicacy, bro, those things will be like all of them will be under lock and key. The only, you'll get outbreaks if some asshole isn't keeping them correctly, but it'll get under control. You fucking make them a delicacy, and that shit's under control real quick. You make money on them, bro.
Yeah, but right now all the restaurants are closed, so we can't we can't do shit. Unless he's gonna offer curbside pickup.
I like it. I like it.
Curbside murder wasp souffle.
No, you know what you need? Here's 21st century drive-by, bro, is a Prius and some murder hornets.
So you're basically going back to Wile E. Coyote. He's got a bee gun.
You're just gonna be a bunch of kids like, man, on my block, you hear nothing but humming.
If you're humming, it's either a Prius coming up for a drive-by or
An
murder
aggressive
wasp.
text message.
All right, so what have y'all been watching here in quarantine?
I watched a man feed piranhas. That was kind of interesting.
What was he feeding them?
He caught a bullfrog and like a little like fish. And he gave a little fish to the juvenile piranhas, and he gave the bullfrog to the adult piranhas.
I feel like piranhas are both overhyped and underhyped at the same time.
Okay, go on.
Like, when you see piranhas go, there's a lot of shaking and violence and water rumbling and stuff. But that's just like, bro, think about getting leverage on something with just your face underwater. Yeah, there's some thrashing. Like, that's just how you rip off meat underwater, is by thrashing. So yeah, they're like really aggressive and they'll gnaw the fuck out of stuff and they roll in big ass schools, but at the same time, it's not like the death sentence that Hollywood pretends like it is. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah,
Like,
it's
you got to get the fuck out. Like, there's no fucking around them. It's not a jackass stunt to go like pop in with some piranhas, but it's also not the instant ground to bone cartoonish bullshit that Hollywood presents it as.
I mean, I think that would be presented. So, like the video I was watching, it wasn't a very big school, right? He had like maybe like 6 or 7 of them or something. Maybe like 10 at the max, right? You know, maybe it was like 12 between the two or 14 or something like that.
See how this
right?
number's gone up and up though? That's all I'm saying.
No, but I mean, like from the two
That's all I'm
tanks,
saying.
it's like 7 and 7, right? He had 7 juveniles and he had like 7 or 8 little like ones, or 6 or 7 big ones, right? You know, kind of thing. And like at first, like so, like the juveniles were more aggressive than the main ones, and the big ones, the adult ones. And like they ripped that little fish pretty good. Like it was quick. It wasn't like, oh, let me just like, you know, it's like Hollywood where it like draws it out, right, kind of thing. It was like me, done, right, you know, until they were full. And like the big ones, the adult ones, they took their time a little more because they were like curious about it because it was something that was really big compared to them, right, you know.
Mhm.
And so they're like, do we eat it? I don't know. What's happening? And then like finally one of them took a bite, and like that's what got all the rest of them to get into like a frenzied state
Yeah.
because now there was blood. And they ripped the bottom of that frog off pretty quick, man. Like it was like he didn't have time. It was like he once some of the damage had been done, he got up because he got up on a rock for a minute, and then like he didn't have anywhere to go, so he went back down to try to go hide. Like once he was going down, it was over. Like they ripped both of his legs off and like fucking like he was just like floating in the water, like.
Is this like Faces of Death, but for animals that you're watching?
I was actually just looking up frog videos just to watch, like, because I like watching nature stuff, and then I ended up in there, and I was like, well, why not? I'm gonna watch it. And
That's
the dude
what-
that was like feeding him was way too excited. Like, I have a morbid curiosity of like science and like
He was
fucking
like Tom
nature
Green
stuff.
in Road
No,
Trip.
he was like, look at him all go. Like he was just like the way this dude's built, he's like super buff, right? You know, and he's like, I'm an apex predator, right? You know, and I'm just like, okay, bro, you need to like calm down and not have as much fucking steroids, right? And like he's just like so majestic watching these things, right? You know, he's just like way
Yeah, you just didn't
overexcited.
expect that coming
Look at
out
the
of his mouth.
majestic murder fish.
Yeah, like he's like it's a death vortex, right? You know, I'm like, whoa, dude, just like calm the fuck down.
Well-
Death Vortex was my high school metal band.
Yeah.
So.
You know, now that I'm more outdoorsy, like I just found out there's such thing as murder trees. Did y'all hear about
That's
this?
coming from chat right now. We got Murder Trees of Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're called what the fuck are they called? Apparently, it looks like a typical tree, has fruit that looks similar to apples with similar smell and taste, except every part of the fucking tree is aggressively poisonous. I don't know if this part's true, but the chat's saying it's true that rain coming off of this tree and touches your skin can put you in the fucking hospital. Leave it to Florida.
Where's Florida?
The Spanish name
Florida?
is Manzanilla de la Muerte, the
It's the
little apple of death.
The manzanilla tree.
Manzanilla. That's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like I need to grow one of these and slowly dose myself with its poison so that I may become immune.
I'm not sure that's how it works. That's how a lot of the the dilution based poisons and what is it called? Not Hellenic, homeopathic remedies are.
Oh God, love
It
that
has
shit.
the essence, and if you take enough of the essence, you'll be immune. I'm like, you take enough mercury, and you're just gonna die.
Yes, another word.
Yeah.
Oh God, no! Don't go down. No, I'm not gonna do it. We're not gonna do
No,
it. Move
no.
on to
Hey,
something else. Pick
let's
something
talk
else.
about your parents.
No, God. These are the same people who were like, bro, nickel and aluminum are bad, and they put that in vaccines, and it's killing children. No,
The
we're not doing it.
anti-vaxxers?
We're not. No, what's worse is they're like, we're not anti-vax. We just don't appreciate the kind of things they put inside of those. There's lots of stuff they don't need in vaccinations. And here's the case. They think it's big business pushing the sales of nickel and aluminum to be added to vaccinations to raise the prices on them. The 0.001% nickel and aluminum that are used as bonding agents, because they don't leave your body and work as fantastic bonders, that's all just part of.
Do they not understand how real mineral water works, where you just drink that shit?
These are the same people who sat across from me at a restaurant table and ranted about how they've cured autism by radically adjusting the diet of autistic kids. And I will tell you right now, I read this exact same study that they read, big air quotes. Nowhere in that study does anybody claim that they've cured autism. Not once. Not once does anybody who was a part of that study go, we fixed it. It's all better now.
We're done.
What? Yeah, we're all done. We're good. We're good. Just
mission accomplished.
Make us forever,
Everybody
and life is
home.
better. No, all the study claims is that some of the behavioral tics of autism are caused by poor diet, because and this is, I have a heavily autistic person in my family. I've seen it firsthand. My wife has grown up with it and has told me a lot of the stories of it, of this person. So just the diet kind of tends to be like chicken nuggets and fries. It's a simple on the palate kind of thing that doesn't really challenge it, and it's very common from stuff I've seen, from stuff I've read, from stuff I've heard. The chicken nuggets and fries, chicken nuggets and chips kind of diet is really common. But when that's all you're eating, your guts get kind of fucked, and a lot of autistic people don't know how to communicate. My body's uncomfortable. I don't know what's wrong with my guts, kind of shit.
Yeah.
So what they found, and this isn't me words. This is forgive me for not knowing the study, because this is a random aside, but you can look it up. This study found that by radically adjusting the diet of autistic people, it actually kind of helps some of the more manic neuroses that autistic people suffer from. Again, by no means a cure, more just something that helped folks with more extreme symptoms be calmer, easier to work with, easier to exactly, more self-managed, even because their body just felt more in check. Fixing that diet helped. But this is the kind of thing, my parents are really big on this gut biomes. Everything's about gut biomes. You can cure cancer with gut biomes. Every doctor I've ever seen talk about gut biomes is like, look, gut biomes is a new study. It's got a lot of early results, but all gut biome research needs about 5 to 10 more years of testing before it can really even try and make any real judgment on anything.
Yeah.
And my parents see anything on gut biomes and go like, this is the gospel. This is the new way to live. You know what I mean? Like they're so fucking hard on this gut biome thing. And I'm like, look, the worst part about this gut biome argument is once you argue with it, you're basically arguing that you don't need to have a healthy diet. Like, no fucking duh, you need to have a healthy diet. We've known this since forever. We know that
they keep learning what that means, though.
Pudding and meat. Right. The hard part is learning that a healthy diet is different depending on the person you're talking to.
Yes.
People have allergies. People sometimes need more of something or less of something or whatever. Diets are completely customizable. And that doctors have to go to school for 8 years before they can start being a doctor. I'm glad you watched you some documentaries and watched you some YouTube videos and read you a couple of articles. You haven't done 8 years worth of study. And the really hard thing about medical science or science in general is that it's a process of elimination. Sometimes something looks like it works, but really it's actually this other thing you didn't consider. Sometimes it's better than you thought, sometimes it's worse than you thought, sometimes it starts off good and it goes bad. It's we have to learn. We have to learn things. And just because something is new and awesome doesn't mean it's great long term. And I'll admit, I'm super biased to a lot of this stuff too. The minute people start talking about biomechanical engineering and implants, I'm like, look, it's safe. The guy didn't explode. Let's move forward with it. But really, the long term effects of inserting metal and batteries and things that generate heat inside of your body, it's not a good thing in the long run. So, as a people, let's use this opportunity to grow and recognize that we're all full of shit and we're all still learning, and all you can do is do best by you. Now shut up about your fucking gut biome. It's okay to eat a pudding cup every now and then. Have you a snack pack, bro.
Yep.
Klops, have you a snack pack.
Moderation.
I know you're on a very strict diet. Your goal for this week is to somehow find a way to work in a snack pack and enjoy your life a little bit.
Actually, I was on our meeting on Saturday, and I was eating brownies. I'm
you know what?
at the right spot now.
My treat this week, bro. I'm all about it.
Is it some sort of beer that has a lot of stuff in it?
So I'm all on the calorie counting. That's my thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not like religious about it. I know even my wife is like calorie Rain Man. You hold shit in front of my wife and she's like about 150 calories, and I swear to God she's fucking dead on every time. She just naturally knows how many calories are in everything she eats. It's kind of incredible and kind of sad all at the same time. But I just try and be aware of calories. You know what I mean? I more try and be like, okay, 8 slices of pizza is an extreme amount of pizza for somebody who's 5'6". Not very big. I don't need that much food. But my treat this week, and it's been working out, bro, Mickey Mouse ice cream sandwiches. 180 calories for a pretty big chocolate and cookie dough ice cream sandwich. I gotta say, man, Mickey Mouse ice cream sandwich. You can get them at Safeway, I bet. Oh yeah, they got Millennium Falcon ones I haven't tried, and I gotta say, I'm kind of being sold just on the fact that it's Millennium Falcon.
You know what? You try them out. You let me know how they are.
I'm a 31-year-old man, and I'm like, no, babe, it's shaped like the Millennium Falcon. That makes it better.
It tastes better.
You don't shape it like the Millennium Falcon and make it taste like shit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
You can make it the 12 parsecs.
I think that or the man. When's the last time you had one of those Snickers ice cream bars?
Before I started losing weight, for sure. Definitely.
Klops, when's the last time Snickers ice cream bar?
I haven't had a Snickers ice cream bar in a while, but I did have ice cream cake today because it was my boss's birthday.
Ooh, what kind of cake? What kind of ice cream? Paint me a picture.
It was cookies and cream. It was like a cookies and cream flurry with like yellow cake in it. It was pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you were probably the only person I've ever met who just underplayed an ice cream cake.
Well, if it's any consolation for me, I just got a new edible. It's cookies and cream chocolate edible, and it is both great tasting, and it hits the spot everywhere else. So
I mean, I have vanilla ice cream and flan in the kitchen. I can go have some right now.
You know what I just learned, Eduardo? And like I'm not saying this is gonna be a thing, but I'm just saying it's a thing. Apparently, Oakland, where you generally hail from, the second city in the United States to legalize casual consumption of psilocybin.
I believe that is true. I have yet to find some, but I will let you know.
So I know that you're sort of on this like you're not quite quarter life crisis, but you're mid quarter life awakening of casual drug use. So the opposite time frames that me and Eduardo have been on in our life, where I in high school was like, fuck it, you got it, let's do it. And Eduardo was like, no, we don't do that. And then sort of by the time me and Eduardo meet and are hanging out, he's like, you're this goofy guy who does drugs. I'd like to experience that, but vicariously without doing them myself. So we've now hit this point where like, I really don't do drugs, guys. I drink, I'll smoke a bit, and that's really it. Like I won't even usually take pain pills unless something's really fucked up nowadays.
I mean, that's kind of me now. Like, I did a lot of partying, and now it's like I enjoy pain pills when they come around when my back's hurting.
Right, but
Right,
what's funny
you know?
is Eduardo is on this opposite scale, where
Yeah.
now here he is on the other side, but going like, guess who's starting to do more drugs?
Well,
guys?
yeah, but so here's the crazy part though. Like I didn't do any drugs when I was younger, mostly because already had the odds stacked against me when it came to career and
He's brown. For anybody who's
yeah,
just listening,
exactly.
the odds stacked against him, he's brown, so it's way
Yeah,
harder.
well, but yeah, I come from very very poor background. Like I believe most of us here do, but
Yeah.
so it was stacked against me.
I do think let's not play games. I believe you had it, at least money wise, the worst.
Yeah,
I
probably.
don't know.
Like,
I was down there as well, though. We went from being middle class to just dirt poor.
yeah,
He lived in a barn, like an actual.
Yeah,
hay.
I lived in a flop house.
Yeah.
All right,
And then, like,
all right.
when-
It's arguable for
Yeah,
you
yeah.
too. For me, I can say I never lived in a barn.
They're not the same, but they're on the same level. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right. That's
understand.
why it's arguable.
it's different experiences and whatnot. And I'm not making a competition, but the point being is I feel like I had things kind of stacked up against me, so I didn't want to add any more shit to my already long list of stuff that I was gonna have to get through to, get a good job and go.
I mean, that's
go
fair.
that route.
I understand that. Your difficulty's on medium, ours is on easy.
Well, and it was just that. Why make it harder for myself? And even after I joined the military and I was in all that for the longest time, for 12 years of my life, and you get drug tested all the time. So I never picked it up when I was a kid. So why would I pick it up now that
You're adult. Yeah.
as an adult? And then I had pain issues, right? One of the beautiful gifts of being in the military for so long, especially in the infantry, is a lot of my body's kind of wrecked in a lot of different ways. Or
I feel right now.
Huh?
That's the way I feel right now. Like from all the manual labor over the years and shit, dude. Like my back is just tweaked, and like
Yeah,
normally what happens is like this just kind of comes and then it just like goes away, and I'm fine for like another fucking like 8 months.
yeah.
But now it started to do that, and then it fucking came back. And
Bon-
so like I'm
Bonsai,
just
this is-
going.
this is a geriatric cast. That's the title
Yeah.
for this one.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah,
Are
we're-
we all dying?
We're
Pretty
we're
much.
talking we're complaining about our bodies. So that's what I was saying. Like my body is pretty jacked up. And because of that, I had kind of stopped being active. I for the longest time I just ate whatever I wanted, and I figured I'd done my part. Like I went through all this crazy shit. I'm just gonna chill and do whatever the fuck I want. However, lower activity, eating better. I got pretty chubby there. I was pretty high up there. So once it was possible for me to start taking edibles to mask the pain and help with the swelling and all that, that's when it was a whole new world. Like I've yet to really smoke it. Like I've tried it a
Thing
couple
is
of
a
times.
dazzling place you never knew.
Oh yeah. Every turn a surprise. Anyways, Jesus, I still know all those fucking lyrics. And so I started it, and now there's all kinds of studies coming out, right? Like they talk about how psilocybin and mushrooms can actually help with PTSD, and mind you, I've dealt with those demons since 2005, and I'm much better now than
Oh,
back
actually,
then.
a review we didn't plan on. But speaking of all that, Eduardo, if you want to pull up a graphic really quick,
Sure, what you
Netflix
got?
has a documentary
God.
called "Enjoy Your Trip." Klops, have you
Oh.
seen this?
No, I thought it was the Goo Factory one.
No idea what that is. Do I want to know?
No.
Okay, enjoy your trip. I will say my one problem. Well,
Is it called Have a Good Trip?
oh, there you go. Have a good trip.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just making sure.
My bad. Have a good trip. I literally just watched it today off of like a random recommendation from my brother and like a casual text message of like, I just watched this, check it out. So I threw it on today. this kind of works both as a problem and a boon for the documentary. So it is purely celebrity interviews. Actors, musicians, artists, whatever. It is purely celebrity interviews about celebrities' different experiences with hallucinogenics. And by hallucinogenics, they mean hard hallucinogenics, mostly acid, a little bit of mushrooms and DMT and things like that. Really fascinating watch, but goes over exactly what you're talking about, Eduardo, with like them finding more and more that psilocybin and things like that have some
Yeah.
medical benefit. And I was actually telling my wife about this today, but I really think that what they're aiming for is to find the CBD of hallucinogenics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
get that.
they looked at weed really, really close and they went, okay, what's just the part that deals with pain? Let's just get that part. And so they start releasing CBD. I really think they're trying to dig deeper into hallucinogens and find just the euphoria bit and maybe reduce that chance of a bad trip. But one of the things I really liked about this documentary was without ever like having to pull out statistics and numbers, they kind of show you that fear-mongering idea of the bad trip that lasts forever and drives you insane is really just not a thing. People have bad trips. Sometimes it's a really too intense experience, and that's okay. I also like that the documentary really talked about how acid and hallucinogenics are not for everyone, because they're not. Some people are just not going to have a good time. It's one of the things that I struggled with. I'll tell you, the most I ever did in my life, and this was several years ago, I only ever did mushrooms. That's probably as high into the hallucinogenic world as I ever went. And I did it less than 5 times. More than one, less than 5. I don't remember the exact number, but it's not many. It's like really compared, like even people in this show, they talk about going on like 200 trips on various drugs. I'm nowhere near that number, and I recognize that. And even now, as an adult with like a career, it really has nothing to do with my job or worrying like, oh, if they find out I do drugs, I'll be fired. I'll find some place that accepts it if somebody gets pissed about it. Like, I'm fine with that. Really, my thing is just that I worry that my stress level is not conducive to an LSD trip. I really think I'm gonna have to be like first or second year retired before I ever take my first LSD trip. That's what I want to live long enough to be retired and know that I don't got shit going on. And that's when Devin starts cracking into like ayahuasca, peyote, and
Well,
LSD.
but to be fair though,
I don't have it in me right. I really think I will lead and it's a personal thing.
yeah,
I think
that's
that
fair.
I will lead myself down a
I'm
bad
not-
trip if I were to try that now.
I'm not trying to convince you at all, right? But what I think is if they're finding that it helps people with PTSD, we already have that intensity and all the craziness, right? Like
I think the three of us have all seen some pretty. Yours is war specific, but I think me and Klops have both seen some pretty life specific, fucked up shit.
Yeah,
Well, some of my PTSD comes from a bad acid trip.
Really?
Yeah. So like I was spiked with acid and sent on a 14-hour ride. And
I will say the documentary talks about spiking people who don't know about it and how just wrong it is. It's the wrong mentality to go into that mind.
Right. Yeah. No. It's left a lot of residual effects. I will say even though the permanent bad trip might not be a thing for a whole year afterwards, I was still dealing with residual effects. And it probably could have been longer had I don't know. I have a way of like facing my problems head on, including with that. Like I would start to hear an alternate perception, and like I started to play with it. Is really what I feel brought me out of it faster. Because it became less scary effect and more interesting to me of like talking to someone and hearing this weird alternate perception that I knew wasn't the actual perception, right? And like just to give an example of it, some days I would be like I'd go to the mess hall and I'd be having like frosted flakes or whatever, cornflakes, and like my mind was perceiving it as toenails or clippings or like really,
Oh,
really fucked up things.
yeah, you don't need
Um,
that in your life. You
and
don't
so
need it.
like I instead of being like, man, I know I ate this, I was like, guess I'm fucking having toenail clippings today,
Oh, no.
and I just would power through it.
See, I don't, and I'm
Um,
not saying I couldn't power through it. I'm saying I don't want to.
you get used to it though, man. Like
I don't want to get used to it. I
I'm not
don't
saying
want that
I'm not
experience.
saying that you
But
should.
hold
I'm
on.
not saying that you
We're
should.
going down a rabbit hole that isn't what I was originally talking about.
It's okay. So, but what I was going to say is that I have been curious about doing smaller doses of hallucinogens.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yes, and I feel like we're
To
all arriving at the
see-
same point at the same time. The microdosing idea. And this is, again, not something I've done, not something that I'm actively looking to do, but more and more I'm seeing A, clinical research,
Yep.
and B, I'm seeing just people that I know who do it and are really, really swearing by it. And not as like a, bro, it's a party, but as like a, hey, it's actually a really calming, clarifying, like grounding experience to kind of microdose. And I really hope I'm not putting myself in a bucket or endangering myself in any sort of future business perspective. I'm saying from a clinical standpoint, the research I'm seeing is
Yeah.
actually making a very strong case to where I'm not sold. I'm not sold, but I'm interested. I want to see, like, sure, people are feeling good, but I wonder, is microdosing the kind of thing that you need to do an upkeep on every few months, years, decades, whatever?
I
You
don't.
gotta kind of go through the process, or
I don't think it's that.
once in
Benze.
your life and you're better, or like I'm talking like purely therapeutic, right? Like not my example, but let's go worst case scenario. Somebody is just it is just the most tragic human being in the world. Multiple sexual harassments or incidents, or
To-
like terrible parents, terrible friends, terrible upbringing. Like somebody is the worst case scenario, and psilocybin, they're claiming, could be the kind of thing to help ground and balance their mind. But what's the upkeep on that? Is it one time, like you go for like a casual 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days and then work yourself through it and it's good forever? Do you gotta do an upkeep on that and keep it going? What is say it is an upkeep, but the upkeep's once a decade? Like
so
need a
I
lot more
feel
research before I sign on.
I feel that well, I don't know the potency of that dosage, right? And I think that's what it really boils down to is both the dosage that you're getting and the willingness to work through your issues as a person, right? So it's a person by person
Sure.
trial.
Sure.
So that upkeep may be 6 days, it may be 6 years, it may be 16 years, whatever, right? It may be once in a lifetime.
But
kind
do you
of
think
thing.
there is an upkeep? It's definitely not a one and done.
It could be a one and done. It depends on the person, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
The whole thing. So like, I've been around a lot of burners and people that have also done strong hallucinogens, right? And I was kind of delving in when I got spiked, right? Which is what fucked me, because I actually really liked hallucinogens. I really liked mushrooms, right? And I probably really would have liked acid as well had it been the right circumstances. And so, like, from the burners that I've talked to, there are some that's like, yeah, I just don't do hallucinogens anymore. But then there's also ones that are like, yeah, I had this really fucked up trip, and like I was like wigging out about it, and then like I went to go fuck this girl, and she was like, let's do acid, and I was like, I don't really want to. And she's like, you'll be fine, and I did it, and it worked. It was kind of like, here I was in the middle of the mountain, and I was fearing it, and then I climbed that mountain, and I was fine.
It's a lot of the guys in this documentary have a good trip. Just another plug for them. No, on Netflix. A lot of the things that they were saying was like it was worth doing multiple times because it's kind of a roll of the dice, and the bad trip seems to be the less common, or for at least a lot of the people they talk to, very steerable. Very like it started bad, but then it got good, or it was only bad for a chunk. The only one who this was adorable, by the way, and really tells you a lot about him as a person. They had Ben Stiller on this, and they interview Ben Stiller about his trip with acid, and even he admits, he goes, I was not ready to take acid. He just was not in a place in his mind where he was prepared for the life-altering experience that was acid. He ends up calling his dad. I think
Oh,
he's like college age, but his parents are both actors. They're off filming an episode of The Love Boat, and he's got to call his dad to have his dad help talk him through being really fucked up on acid and having a bad trip. And his dad's trying to relate. He's doing the best he can by telling him that he stole some Pall Malls from his dad when he was a kid and was sick for 2 days, and how that's probably the same thing. And poor Ben Stiller on the phone has to
he's
explain to
tripping
his
balls
dad
over
how
there.
it's not at all the same goddamn thing. Really adorable. No, really, have a good trip. Really liked it. But I will say, anything where you just take a bunch of artsy fartsy celebrities and have them talk about their acid trip, I'm like, me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, of course it was great for you. You're an artsy fartsy celebrity who has a bunch of free time in their day between doing their artsy fartsy part. Like Sting. They have Sting from The Police doing a big interview on how like acid totally changed his perspective. And I'm like, yeah, bro, you're fucking Sting. You know what I'm not? Is Sting. I don't have your carefree fucking lifestyle, Sting.
Yeah.
Go away. You know what I mean? So
Well, I hope the
that's
research continues, and I might give it a go myself, just to see if it actually does help. But
it's
again,
one of the
micro dosing, not like full blown. Like,
right. Yeah, I'm curious. Like
I would
another
probably
two,
start with
three
microdosing, but then I'd probably go into full blown trips.
another 2-3 years here. I'd really like to see what the research says on repetitive use, especially since I know how hard it is on your system. Um, I'd like to see what repetitive use looks like.
I wonder if it has the same effect as if you took it and then you drank vitamin C, if it would get you high again. Because that was the coolest part about.
Is how much that
So,
increases the effect, yeah, which is
yeah,
really weird.
oh, interesting. Is that because it becomes maybe fat soluble, and then the vitamins?
I don't remember. It's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
20 years since I've done drugs.
All I know is, and for sure I can tell you this much at least with psilocybin, magic mushrooms, vitamin C will really kick that up a full notch. Think of Eduardo. You remember when we played Diablo 3 a lot, and you'd go from like Torment 5 to Torment 6?
Yeah, back in
That's
the day.
orange juice being dumped onto a psilocybin mushroom.
The only
Interesting.
drawback to it is that it would also burn it out quicker. Is if you
Yeah.
if you kept trying to do orange juice
Well, I
to
guess
it.
that's a good thing, though, right? Like, in case you're
Yeah,
having
no.
a bad trip.
I will, and that's actually one of the things, because even my wife has presented a minor amount of interest in, like, if right time, right place, right situation, microdosing would be an interesting thing again to see, like, what does that effect have on you as a person as a whole.
Well, now that I'm doing
But
more
one of the
outdoorsy
big things that's kept us from doing it is we're like, boy, I remember when we did it when we were younger. So like now, when I was younger, I could get super drunk and wake up the next day and go to work. And now if I get a real bad hangover, I'm like, oh man, I think I'm fluey. You know what I mean? I know for sure that mushrooms was 8 hours the couple of times that I did it. And that the next day I was tired as a motherfucker from being a crazy person from 8 hours. So
I didn't ever have that. The only time I had that experience was when I did mushrooms and I went on a hike. And by the way, that was like the worst trip, because not because I saw anything or anything, but because I didn't see anything. It basically sweat out of my body, and I didn't actually have a real good trip.
So take this with a grain of salt, because we were young and we were dumb. But the folks that we were hanging out with when we were much younger were straight up dealers. And so when folks would get us mushrooms, they were getting us top shelf, and the minimum we did. So here, I'll give you a little window into my couple of experience. I think it was 3. I think that's what I'm at, is 3. And actually the first time they were bunk. So the first time me and my friends tried, or me and my immediate friends who I was living with tried mushrooms, we got 1/8 each, because that's what everybody swore to us, is you have to do a minimum of 1/8 each. So that's what we took, 1/8 of an ounce each of mushrooms. I don't know how
Jesus.
true that is. I I don't
How
know.
many grams is that?
I don't know. All I know is that this is what they sold us, this is what they told us we needed, and this is what we took. So we had our friends give us 1/8 each of mushrooms. The very first time, it did nothing. Nothing. And not like, oh, I was convincing. No, there were a few of us in the room, a couple of us who had done it, a couple of us who hadn't done it, and it did nothing.
It's 3.5 grams.
Okay. So it did nothing. So the second time we do it, we're bold. We're like, fucking, these things are pussy. They can't do anything to us. We're super cool. Idiot, young, like 17, 18-year-old living on his own. That's what this is.
He was like
So-
18 or 19. I was there.
So when we actually get good ones, we're a little bold because we're tougher than they are. You know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
we're
No, I get it.
stronger than the drugs are. This makes sense when you're 19 and dumb. So we take more than an eighth each. I think it was probably, I don't know, eighth and a half each. I don't know how math works out, but whatever that is. We're taking a dose and a half of what we're being told is a dose from like well, I don't want to say high end. I don't want to sound like I was hanging out with kingpins and shit because I wasn't. But
You're
like
taking 5 grams.
something. Again, nobody weighed anything out, but basically we went to our guy who was a reliable guy.
As reliable as a probably. He wasn't low end, maybe mid end drug dealer.
Right,
can be.
exactly. Like he was reliable enough. You know what I mean? So like this was his day job, and he held a better life than we had working real jobs. So we went
Yeah.
to that guy, and we were like, we want like a dose and a half each, and that's what we took the second time. And the second time, yes, things were properly nutty. It was probably
I was asked to leave.
yeah. Eduardo was the only guy who did not take them, and we couldn't handle that shit. I think there was like a sense of judgment from it. Not that Eduardo even did anything. I think it was, and actually, it's something they talk about in Have a Good Trip.
I
They
was
say the
playing
thing-
Xbox.
The thing you need to root yourself in is a comfortable area with only comfortable people. I will say, looking back, hindsight being 2020, should have kept Eduardo and ditched a couple of the people who actually took the drugs with us because they made it worse. For sure. When you have somebody who an hour in goes, I came down forever ago, bro. These things suck. And you're very clearly still out of your mind. No, it's a bad day. But yeah, so we were in for about 8 hours, and then the next day we were spent. Like really,
Yeah.
just. And I'm told I've never done this either. I'm told ecstasy is largely the same thing,
Yeah,
but for
because you
happiness,
use up all the endorphins.
you use up all of your joy for a day. It's you borrow joy from the next day, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm told. That's really what's kept me from doing it. Is that whole like just how low the next day is supposed to be. That sounds really awful. That's one of those lines where I'm like, nope, that's not for me. I'm not that guy.
I don't know
Fair
that,
enough.
that I can probably handle. The times I've done it, the first time I did it,
You're also a
being-
big ass
it was-
dude.
It
it was a gram in chocolate.
We're
Was
talking
the
about
first time
mushrooms or
Yeah.
psilocybin and
mushrooms.
LSD. Mushrooms. Okay, psilocybin.
Mushrooms. Yeah.
Okay.
And it got us high. Like it was fun. Like things are moving on the walls and stuff like that, right? You know, like I had a blast. There was different colors. We ended up playing Super Smash Brothers Melee, and like the TV was like breathing as we were playing. The screen
So you-
stayed fine, but like everything else
this
around
sounds
it was
more like what I'm told the microdose experience is, because where
Yeah.
we tried to watch a movie and couldn't even handle that shit. This was a full on like lose your mind.
the next time was the hike, so I didn't really do anything. The third time, which was the final time I did shrooms, because I've also done it only 3 times. I got a bunch from my buddy, and they were called golden caps, is what they were called. For some fucking,
Yeah,
gold caps,
so
right,
that's gold caps. That's what our friends always told us we wanted. If
Yeah,
you're
those
if
are
you're
the-
gonna
those are
buy
the
from
best
me,
ones.
you're gonna buy gold caps.
Yeah, those
okay,
are the best
that's
ones.
what I'm gonna buy. Yeah.
So I brought them to this place because they wanted to do shrooms, right? You know, and I had taken about 2.5, 3 grams, and they each had a gram. She got really sick. I didn't really feel anything. One of my buddies who was also there was sober. And then like I don't know what happened with the other guy, but so like they're like, oh, well, she's just sick. I guess we're just gonna lay down and not do anything. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll go home then. And so my buddy brought me home, and I'm on my front porch, right? And like before this, I didn't really feel
Telling
anything. I
kids
kind
to
of
get
felt
off your
floaty,
lawn.
right? I kind of felt floaty for a minute, but I was like, oh, okay, I guess they're bunk, whatever. Let's go and play video games. And it's like I'm knocking on the door because I forgot my keys, and I look to the wall left of me, and it's just bubbling and turning colors. I was like, oh, they're good. I
It's
guess
happening.
I guess it's time. I need to get inside. Otherwise, I'm gonna be lost out here forever. Um, and so like my dad answered the door, and like he's like, "Oh, hey, you're back." I was like, "Oh, they said they got stuck off the shrooms, but mine are just not kicking in, so I'm just gonna go play video games and enjoy myself." And he's like, "Okay," and like I had a great trip. Like I ended up in our room that we did copious amount of drugs in, and I had a picture of Kat Von D in it, and she was like, with her arms back behind her head, and like there was another pair of hands like pressing her boobs. She was just dancing for me for a while with a trippy ass background that was changing colors and stuff, right? Like
And maybe I'm broken or something, but I feel like film and television and you and other people's stories have promised me that drugs are this one thing on the height of losing my mind. And this is I fully consider the reason I don't do it again. I'm really just not interested in it. The times I did mushrooms, I feel like I lost my mind. I never saw anything. I would like so like we had textured walls, and yes, that looks like it's crawling, but even while you're on the drugs, you can justify to yourself that the walls look like they're crawling because there's this texture on it and your eyes are having a hard time focusing. Things look like they're breathing because again, it's having lots of points of focus and your mind not being able to focus on it. Never ever on my mushroom experiences did I ever see a hallucination of any sort. I had lots of extravagant thoughts. I had lots of really out there mind pictures, but never truly like, oh, sitting next to Eduardo right now is a little man who's tipping it. Like, that
I didn't
never
have
happened.
that.
I feel like television really promised
Well,
that drugs were going to be this one thing, and that's really
to,
not
to,
what
to be
drugs are.
fair,
I
though,
remember looking at the wall and it being faces and going through all the different emotions as a rainbow going
so
around the
so
corner.
from what I hear, though, to be fair, is that like to go past what Klops is talking about, where you're just seeing like the TV breathing and then the thing on the walls, is DMT is the one that really takes you there, like
Blurs
especially
that line.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
caps,
yeah.
not the stems.
huh?
Caps, not stems. Depends on what you did with the mushroom as well. Caps had more of the hallucinogen, the stems had more of the body high.
Oh, yep, I didn't know that.
It was fucking ground up and put into a sandwich, buddy.
I'm one of those weird people that actually just likes the taste of shrooms. Like I will just eat them.
A few of our friends did. They swore that it tasted like Eduardo, pumpkin seeds. And we always swore if Eduardo liked drugs at the time, he would have loved them because they tasted like pumpkin seeds. I fucking hate pumpkin seeds. So even in the best case scenario, I was not and I found them gag worthy. I will say anybody who's never done it, who is thinking about trying it, well, personally, I can only you've really got to be at the right place in your life. I don't know that I could suggest it. Don't take my suggestion on it. It's a personal choice. I fucking hate the taste. I almost puked several times.
Huh? Can you just swallow
really
them?
hated it. You can, but really chewing them is what's going to release the most of that oil and juice that you want to experience raw. So yes, swallowing them, like throwing them into a cup of something and drinking them, you will still get the experience, but think about your stomach having to break it down in a slower release time. Whereas if you chew it, you're extracting more of it at once and getting a higher punch of that chemical that you're looking for.
Fair
Chocolate
enough.
or honey are the best for shrooms if you don't like shrooms.
Yeah, I didn't have them that way, but I can absolutely see how that would be the way to go.
Okay, fair enough. Well, actually,
But
all of
with
this...
it being legal in your town, Eduardo, I almost want you to be our drug correspondent and like let us know. Maybe record a solo podcast.
I don't actually know where to get it, so
If you
let
find
me
them,
find
let
that
me know.
out first.
No, I believe it's your cannabis clubs are supposed to be carrying it in Oakland.
Okay, that is a crazy thing. Let me see. Let's find out.
And I'm Googling this right now so nobody else has to. Okay, Magnolia, Oakland carries them.
Okay.
Oakland marijuana shop flooded with questions about psilocybin. Let's see what the official answers are. Oh, this is just a big, thick article. I was looking for more like an informational piece. Anyway, let's take a second. We can even have some silence for a second because we're gonna pronounce it.
No, actually, we'll bring this back to you the next episode because we're running out of time.
Oh, okay, we can do that.
We're gonna do our research and we're gonna get back to you. Check us out live Monday nights 7 to 8 on YouTube in 5D Podcast. Also, we're on twitch.tv/Metagame Network Tuesdays 7 to 9 for multiplayer night. We played Brawlhalla last week. We actually got down with some of our French Canadian friends that join us on the stream sometimes. Also, Bias Bros comes out every other Thursday. More film talk, going down the film rabbit hole with Bonsai and his brother Jay. All right, and on that note, final words, Claps?
I want to do shrooms again.
Okay, Bonsai.
Apparently, you guys have decriminalized but not made legal. So, in other words, if you get caught with them,
Oh, good. Then they can't
it's
do
a
anything. That's
slap
even
on
better.
the wrist. But legally, you can't sell them. So, Eduardo, unfortunately, you still got to find a sketchy guy on the street.
Fair enough. Hey, Claps, let's talk later.
Okay.
And on that note, bye.
Yeah.
I live in Oregon. Bye.